You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios in Wichita, Kansas. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. Additionally, you can listen Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. KSUNradio.org. That's KSUN radio.org. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are getting set to take on the New England Patriots in a Thursday night fight. And this is actually a game to me that could potentially bring the ratings up a little bit. Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston, they've been on the cusp. I think with everything that's been going on right now with football down there in Florida, this is a big opportunity for Florida teams to start carrying the load, with Irma and the hurricanes and all that, to really kind of bring something back to that community. You start looking at Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. Look, everybody's talking about Tom Brady. Everybody's talking about the yards. He's number one in passing right now in the NFL, number one in touchdown passes, number one in yards per game. He's still playing lights out football. He's doing it with the offense that has a lot of players out. Rob Gronkowski's in 1 week. He's out another week. And the way that I begin to see things is when I think about the New England Patriots, I start looking at their defense. A defense that is currently ranked right now 32nd in the NFL. Now, they forced, I think it's 8 turnovers so far this season, which through, 3-4 games, is actually pretty good. I mean, you're looking at an average of 2 turnovers per game. But unfortunately, despite the fact that the offense has been so successful, when you can't stop anybody on defense, it makes things a little bit more complicated for you because as an offense, you're constantly trying to catch up. Think about the Carolina Panthers. Think about that game last week. Tom Brady and the New England offense did everything that they could to win that football game. But at the end of the day, Carolina made a couple of more plays, and because the New England Patriots can't stop anybody defensively, it put their football team in a precarious situation. It's quite an inauspicious start right now for the New England Patriots overall, if you ask me. Defending Super Bowl champions is everything that's advertised when you see them get ready to play a game of football on television. They have a 2-2 record. How long can a team continue to survive when defensively you are continuing to struggle? It's making everything hard. I'm looking at 2 things when I see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because, at the end of the day, everything that is predicated upon what the Buccaneers do is centered around one guy and one guy only. And that is Jameis Winston. Who, by the way, last week was 22 out of 38 for 332 yards. That was how they were able to beat the Giants. The issue has been they're not able to really score touchdowns once they get in the red zone. That's been a big problem for this football team. Once you get inside, you've got to score. I mean, that was something that ultimately beat Washington on Monday night. That's something that beats a lot of football teams. Look, when you're inside the 25-yard line, field goals don't always cut the mustard. Denver was barely able to get away with that the other day against the Oakland Raiders. And sometimes you want to give credit to defenses, but I think that there are play calling inside the 15-yard line is a very true art form. It really is. And I don't think people realize how much of an art form that really is. Because when you're down inside the goal line, You're in that red zone. You're in that tight area. Passing plays are more difficult to call because it's harder to create space down there. Everybody's bunched up in that end zone. Now, it's odd that we see so many touchdown passes, I think, happen over the middle the way that we do. But, you really got to find receivers and quarterbacks. Number one, here's what I'm trying to tell you. When you run an out route, for instance, down inside the red zone, and a lot of them are really actually more zig routes, and a zig route, a pivot route, whatever it is you want to call it, is where you fake to the inside like you're doing a slant, and then you come back to the outside. You've got to have a quarterback that can put that ball just far enough out there to where it's out of a defender's reach, but it's within a receiver's reach, and then he's got to be able to tiptoe that thing on the sideline, keep his balance, and be able to bring that ball in, and complete the catch through the process now. It used to be you could stick your hands out there, cup that ball, and then you could tuck and roll. It's not that simple anymore. You've got to complete this whole catch process. Another thing that's difficult about being down in there is guys that are all over the field, especially in the middle, when they're cramping it up. That's why you also see the antithesis of the touchdowns is interceptions happen over the middle. You don't see them too much when plays are thrown to the outside unless a quarterback can't get it out there and he's trying to throw the ball to the inside for whatever reason. But see, those are quarterbacks who are inaccurate because they're trying to throw to where the receiver is instead of where he's going and or needs to go. That's why it's called leading the receiver. That's why Tom Brady's so good. That's why, for as much as I don't like to say this, Peyton Manning was so good. Because Manning could throw a receiver open. Ball placement. It's a huge deal. And when you're down inside the red zone, there was nobody better at that than Peyton Manning. Jameis Winston is learning that art form. But there's also the play calling as well. You've got to get it right. Because what the defense could be anticipating is what you're drawing up. So the real cat and mouse game happens inside the 5, the 10, the 15-yard line. You can't call a screenplay a lot of times when you're down inside the red zone because defenses can press up on you a little bit more. There's not as much room if they're backing off. So even if they are coming off the ball, you're not going to have as much room to work. It takes better blocking down inside the red zone. They're going to blitz a little bit tougher. They're going to be willing to leave their guys in zones. So they're not going to worry about play action as much. Or pardon me, they're not going to worry about drop back passes as much. And if you're going to leave somebody in man, especially down inside in jump ball situations, then you're going to have a quarterback who's accurate enough to get it up to where a receiver can get it and where the defender has no chance to knock the ball away. You've got to catch them snoozing on something you didn't think that, or they didn't think you would do. And to me, that's going to be a big part of this game tonight. Everybody's always talking about Bill Belichick and how good he is, even when all these players are out. Well, where's that defense at right now? It's not they don't have playmakers. But what I'm telling you is they've got to figure out a way to put pressure on quarterbacks, for one. And for two, a guy like Jameis Winston, who has all the similar capabilities of a Cam Newton, and who I think, honestly, could be a little bit better. The thing about Jameis Winston that I don't like is he's still just, the inaccuracy, the risk that he takes. I watched several games last year, Jameis Winston, where he had literally no qualms with no guys in his face, no pressure on him, time to throw, putting it on a receiver with 3 defenders around him. I'll never forget that Cowboys game from last season. He had a touchdown pass that really should have been intercepted. I understand the defense didn't make the play, but they weren't good enough to do that. That's not because Jameis Winston was playing so great. When you take risks, especially ones that look like that are as calculated as those are, You've got to be aware of the consequences. And I think sometimes Jameis just isn't aware of the consequences. Look, this is a huge statement game right now for both football teams. The NFC South, to me, is wide open. New Orleans doesn't look like a team that's going to be able to compete. I think that what Cam Newton did against New England is overblown. I really do. When Cam Newton was named the MVP, and I've said this I don't know how many times, he was 19th when he finished the season in passing yards. But his football team was 15-1. Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, a host of other quarterbacks had over 4,000-yard seasons, didn't even get looked at for MVP. Why? Even though Tom Brady and the Patriots were once again a good football team. Because Phillip Rivers' team was 3-13. So nobody cared. This is an opportunity, I think, for the Tampa Bay defense to make a statement. You want to beat the New England Patriots? You're going to have to figure out a way to stop Tom Brady. And I know that that's a little bit off of what I've been talking about here. But I think because, number one, the New England Patriots still do force turnovers, like I said, 8 through 4 games. And number two, because of the gunslinger mentality, it's not even gunslinger. Sometimes it's just careless football from Jameis Winston that when you don't take care of the football and then you can't stop Tom Brady, do you expect to win that football game? See, that to me is going to be the big thing tonight. Red zone scoring, hanging on to the football, and stopping Tom Brady. Those are the 3 keys to success for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For the New England Patriots, man, they got to put pressure on somebody. I mean, they got to do something quick. Maybe they're going too much for the gusto. Maybe they're focusing too much on forcing turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, whatever the case may be. Maybe they back off of that mentality a little bit. Because I think look, especially in this game, because I think Jameis Winston will beat himself eventually. I really do. I love Winston's capabilities. I still think that there's upshot for him. But, man, when you turn the football over as much as he does and some of the coverage situations that he still can't quite read, there's not a lot to not like about Jameis Winston, but the things that I don't like are so game-changing that it's difficult to not bring those things up. I really believe that if Jameis Winston is able to hang on to the football tonight, Tampa Bay Buccaneers win. But I think if he even turns it over once, I mean, that could be the ultimate dagger for this team. And, you know, Tom Brady's one of those guys that I think knows how to get inside the head of his offensive and defensive players alike. And I think he's probably going to get to a point where either in the locker room, on the sideline, in practice, whatever it is, he's going to get in somebody's face and say, look, this is not how the New England Patriots play defense. It's not how we roll. We're going to do our job on offense. You better believe that. But we need you guys to be a part of what we're doing. We need some 3 and outs. All you've got to do is give me the football, and we'll take care of the rest from there. I think Brady has that kind of leadership. We've seen him argue with guys on the sideline. I know a lot of people say that he's a crybaby, and, you know, all you got to do is knock him on his rear a couple times, and, you know, Tom Brady's just not the guy anymore, and, he gets flustered in the pocket. And I've seen that happen a couple times. I've seen him go after the refs. They were talking about it. You know, we've seen him do things like that. He's in the huddle with referees. I've eyewitnessed these things. But when you're as good as Tom Brady and you've earned the respect level that he has, it's not like Brady's the only one to ever do that. I've seen Manning do it. Oh, man, I can't tell you how many times I saw Peyton Manning do it. But, Tom Brady is an easy target because everybody talks about him all the time. The camera's constantly on that guy. So, of course, every little thing that he does is going to be magnified, whether it's good or bad. It's all there is to it. It doesn't matter. But I will say this to close this out. Did you see Tom Brady the post where he was going to lay a block out and he never really did. The music that was playing, oh my goodness. He's such a funny dude, man. He really is. He's got a great sense of humor. I want to hate that guy. I really do. But how can you? Look, I am the biggest John Elway fan in the world. And I will still tell you that the one thing that separates Brady from Elway is Elway's athleticism. But 5 Super Bowl wins, to me, it's Brady and then Elway for the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Because John Elway did go to 5 Super Bowls himself. And he carried 3 really bad subpar football teams to the first 3 Super Bowls. And then he played really great football teams in Super Bowls. And it's crazy to me still to this day that Denver was such a big underdog in that first Super Bowl that Elway went to against the Giants. And ended up being proven correctly because Denver got beat pretty bad in the second half, but I think they were out-coached in that game. But, you know, in the first game that they played the Giants that year, they only lost 19-16. Nonetheless, those are the things I'm looking forward to tonight with Tampa Bay and New England. I think it actually could be a pretty good football game. I mean, honestly, that's the only way I see it. I see it either being a really good football game or a blowout. I don't think you see like, oh, they're down by 10. Oh, now they're only down by 3. Oh, now they're up by 6. Now they're up by, I don't think you're going to see, a lot of that. I think you're going to see an either close game all the way through or you're going to see a blowout all the way through. This is the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios in Wichita, Kansas. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. Coming up on the program, don't forget we're going to have Pat Coran on the show. MMA, Bellator fighter. Coming up, he's going to be fighting tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, for Bellator 184 on Spike. Additionally, we're going to be talking Todd Gurley, who begs Rams fans to come out. We're going to be talking about it right after this. This is the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial.